So hi guys, as you may have gathered, not long ago I was in the unfortunate position of being in prison. So it's lovely to be here rather than there. Whilst I was in HMP Humber would have been July 2017? Yeah, so there was a poster on my wing about a new workshop that was opening in the prison, which was the first of its kind in Europe, a coding workshop called Code 4000. Having done small amounts of web development in my teens, messing about with open source, text-based role-play games and building little modules and things using PHP, I was immediately interested in Code 4000. At the time, I was doing a Adobe Suite course, much like the one that I did in GCSE ICT, but at level 1, so that's like a GCSE E to D, something like that. Anyway, it was horrible and boring. So I was quite happy to see that there was a computer coding workshop where I felt like I could actually do something in jail that I enjoyed. Didn't really think at the time about career prospects or anything like that. I just really wanted to be doing something with my time that wasn't too mind-numbingly dull. So yeah, I went into the Code 4000 workshop on the 2nd of August that year, and there was 3 of us started in there at the same time, so it was very much like a small pilot thing with this very sort of basic curriculum built around downloaded YouTube videos from Bucky, who knew Boston. Some people may have heard of him, and I can't remember what the other guy's name was, but basically there was like two sets of tutorial videos going through basics of sort of networking and how the web works and the basics of computer science and programming, and then going into HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Having done a little bit of development in the past, I knew that that's coming up straight away, isn't it? Yeah, it was just code4000.org. My screen times out like straight away. Yeah, so I've done a bit of web development in the past. I knew I really didn't like HTML and CSS very much. I found it quite boring, so I sort of whizzed through all that stuff and got into JavaScript, which I knew I preferred from, obviously it's very different from PHP front-end JavaScript, but I knew I preferred the more logical side of it, and really didn't like CSS with how many ways there are to do things wrong and not get the outcome that you want. So yeah, I flew through all that stuff, and then started doing a book by, I think Matthew Myers, I think it is, called A Smarter Way to JavaScript, which is really good. Just worked through it, and you've got like a browser-based thing where you're like doing questions based on the book chapters. Smashed through that, and then so at the time they were trying to get Rails working within a prison, which was very difficult. So you could set up a Rails app and stuff, and then it's like, right, I need a gem, and then it's like. So they download a couple of gems, and then you install the gem, and it's like, oh, you can't install it because you need these dependencies. So you go and tell the guys running the workshop, and you go on the internet, and then you download the gem that it's telling you need for the dependency, and then that gem needs another 10 gems. So basically the whole Rails thing just didn't happen for months until I'd actually left that prison. But then they managed to get a gem server and spent a whole week downloading loads of gems, just leaving the computer on running all the time, downloading. So I was in the Code 4000 workshop in Hatfield for around 4 months, and we did some cool stuff. I mean, to be honest, the curriculum was very basic, like I said, and there wasn't really any vision past let's teach people the basics of sort of front end. Websites and static sites and stuff, and there's obviously no DevOps stuff or anything in there. Although we did get a server in there, which the guy who ran the workshop, Neil, had lying around at home. So we did manage to do a little bit of PHP stuff in there actually, with some MySQL databases using PHP, MyAdmin and stuff, which is a bit more exciting. So actually, I left there on March the 2nd to go to open prison. Because of my good behaviour, obviously, and at that point we were working on like a thing to build like a new browser-based software for the prison library, because they were like paying like £1,000 a year for this really crap system. So I was like project lead of that, and we were trying to use these like agile skills that some of the guys from the HMPPS studio on Scotland Street were teaching us about, like user stories and sprints and stuff. So tried implementing a bit of that, which was, you know, school practice, but it's very hard to achieve very much in jail with like so little resources and stuff, and obviously having like no internet access at all makes like any sort of tech work like very hard. So we like started looking around, like trying to build this library system. I don't think it even went anywhere, but yeah, it was good. It was good to like play around with and like try and create a project that actually had some purpose rather than like building as just a static website. So I moved to, so going back to the guys from HMPPS actually. So they used to come in and do these little workshops, like I said, trying to teach us about agile and, you know, scrums and stuff like that, and like trying to get us to do retrospectives and stuff, which was interesting. Also giving us like a bit of tech support when people were stuck on stuff. And so I got speaking to one of the guys, Sean, because I had just been told that I was able to move to open prison in Doncaster. But at the time I was a bit worried, because obviously I was really enjoying the work that we were doing in there, even though it was like quite basic and stuff. I was really enjoying like doing something in my prison time. It was like I felt like I was learning and being productive. So I was a bit like skeptical about moving to open prison, even though I get to go home like a few days a month and spend time with my partner and spend time with my mum and all that sort of thing. You're still thinking like, well, am I just going to like be back like hoovering a wing and like sweeping up or working in the kitchens and stuff? So I was like, I really had in mind that I don't really want to move there until I know I can sort of like get some employment, because you're allowed to work out in the community. So anyway, when these guys came in from Sheffield, I was like, oh yeah, I can go to open prison in Doncaster, like, do you know anyone in South Yorkshire I can work with? And so the guy Sean was like, I'm sure I've seen a social media post from a Sheffield agency before, and you know, I passed the details on to the workshop manager when I get home. I can get on the internet and have a look. So we got an email late that day giving Andy Mayer at UME giving us his details. So basically, like, wrote out an email and had to write it out on paper in my cell and then give it to the guy who runs the workshop so that he could email it to Andy. And then like straight away Andy replied like, yeah, can you give me a ring at some point? So we let him use the phone in the office. And he was like, yeah, I'll come and see you. I'll come and see you in the prison if we can arrange like a visit. And so he came into the workshop and we had a chat, and he was like, well, yeah, if you can get here on a volunteer basis, because I work with loads of charities, I can basically take you on and like give you some support while you're learning. And if we can get you involved in some commercial projects, great. If not, then you know, at least you can come and you've got an environment where you can connect to the internet and learn and get some sort of experience. So I moved to open prison in Doncaster on the 2nd of March. I had a really frustrating time for 6 months where I was trying to get the prison to approve it, and they have to like send someone out to check out the premises. They have to get like copies of insurance, documents and all this stuff. So it was like, it wasn't until the 1st of October that I went, that I did my first day in the UME office in Park Hill. In the meantime, I was driving around on a tractor and working with some chickens in the prison farm, which wasn't actually that bad in the summer, to be fair. Yeah, so I started at UME on the 1st of October and had a chat with Andy. He was like, so what do you want? I was like, I want to learn back-end development now, because like we couldn't really do it properly in the jail before. Obviously there was like all this talk about Rails. It was like this legend at that time that couldn't be used. A lot of these gems that we need so many of. So Andy was like, right, well, let's just start at the beginning. Got me opened up the getting started with Rails tutorial and Rails guides. Started building my own little blog thing. So coming across all these new concepts to do with like relationships between different tables and stuff like that. It was all very new, and I didn't really have a clue what was going on, but like stuff seemed to be working and then breaking, and then like Andy was helping me fix it. And at that time, Andy had put a message out onto the Sheffield digital Slack saying like, I've got a guy who's like a serving prisoner, who's coming to work with me, would anybody be up for doing some mentoring? And Ryan Brooks, who unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, responded, and he came on like my second week, and like guy's an absolute genius. That was like really good, because like every time he came on a Thursday, I had so many things broken that I just like really needed someone to come and help me. So obviously Andy was like doing his own thing as well and working. So yeah, it was really good to have that extra bit of support from Ryan, and someone with so much mentoring experience as well. Like it was really, really useful. So after like, I'd say like 6 weeks of just like doing tutorials, and so I built this like little blog application. And Andy was like, "Oh, look at the device gem and install that, like create user logins and all this sort of thing." And I did that, and he was like, "Right, now look at CanCan, incorporate that for user authentication." Did that, and he just like kept throwing gems and like add that in, add images in, and all this stuff. And he was like, "You seem to be getting on the right of it." I wasn't really too sure about how stuff was working yet. Obviously, like the whole idea of like MVC was like completely alien. And to be fair, Andy didn't really explain it, and I didn't really like look into it. But it sort of all started like I had like a penny drop moment about 8 weeks in, where it's like, that's what's happening, isn't it? Like all that stuff. So I sent him that there, and then yeah, it isn't all magic. Like, there's actually some logic behind it all. After like 8 weeks, Andy was like, "Right, I've got a really old website that was built in Rails 3, and it's the only thing that's on this really old server of mine that costs me £100 a month to keep up, and I get paid like £20 a month for this service. So basically, I'm paying £80 a month. So it'd be really great if you could like rebuild the whole thing in Rails 5, so I can just like get it off that server, and like there's no deadline, there's no time constraints, and it really doesn't matter if you can't even do it, because they're not even asking me to do it. It'd be really cool if you could." So basically started with a new browser app. Obviously had this as a prototype, so it was really useful for when I did get stuck, I could actually look at it, try and nick the code, and then that normally wouldn't work because the syntax changed, and then so I just sort of like look up like the old syntax with Rails 5 in Stack Overflow, updated that, and then obviously just like started to develop an understanding from there really, and start to really like piece together how different things are working and stuff. And it was a really useful project actually, and to be fair, I think like for anybody else who came through the same program as me and Andy said, would that actually be the perfect project to even just like throw out people, even if it doesn't need doing, just like you've got a prototype here, like build it again from scratch, try and refer as little as you can to the old one. And then like you find like the further you get into it, you're not even using the old one, you're just sort of building everything. So like maybe the first couple of controllers, you're just like copying and pasting, and you sort of like just figure out how it all works, and then you just do it from scratch in the last couple you build whatever. So I was at uni, so I got released on the 21st of July this year. So I was at uni for like, I can't even figure that out off the top of my head, but like 9 months probably, something like that. And in around January this year, Tarek, who is the CEO of Code 4000, came and spoke to me because he had a development in London with Metrobank, because he basically knows one of the directors of Metrobank, and he was the director of Metrobank was looking at setting up some sort of foundation, getting involved in a bit of charity work. And Tarek, the CEO of Code 4000, was like, "Well, you know, I've got this little thing that I'm doing. Maybe like our things could sort of interlink. How do you feel about trying to set up employment pipelines for the guys that we train up?" Unfortunately, Paul was like, "Yeah, why not?" So I went and met Paul in January while I was on one of my overnight releases that you get when you're in open prison. Went and had a chat with him and sort of like did a bit of a chemistry check. We just like wanted to make sure that I wasn't like a complete weirdo. And then he arranged a meeting with me and some of the tech team. When I met them, they sort of like did a sort of it was quite a light interview technology-wise. I think they just wanted to make sure that I was at a standard where they could sort of like put me in a junior role and train me up, sort of thing. So like basically making sure I knew how to work a computer. And then I had like a proper interview. It was the final one in May the 20th, which was like more or less like my 2-year anniversary of being in jail, and then I got a job offer the next day, which was great, and then I got told you need to learn Java, which was not great. So then like for my last like 6 sessions with Ryan, it was like going at like Spring Boot applications and stuff, and trying to take in as much as possible, which apparently wasn't very much, but it's getting there. So I started Metro. So I got out of jail on the 22nd, not 21st, 22nd of July, and I started Metro. That was Monday. Started Metro the following Monday. So I moved down to London on the Thursday. It's just been a really quick turnaround. And it's just been like the maddest 2 months. To tell you, like, I've been given some key facts of Code 4000. So since, including myself, there has been like 12 people who've been released, who've been through the scheme up until now. No one has reoffended, apparently, that they know of, or been caught reoffending as yet. Four, including me, are now employed in tech. So there's Ash, who is working at the, so basically Code 4000 have took him on as a junior developer for themselves, and he's based in the UWE office at the moment. And then there are 2 guys who have started up their own, like, well, they say agencies, but they're just like self-employed really. So there's one guy down in London running a company called Pink Umbrella, Mick, and there's another guy based in the northeast, and I don't actually know him or what his company's called, but so there's 4 of us, and they've currently got formal people working out in the community on role like I was, so like in various different capacities. So I think there's like a couple of people that are like working with charities, and then they've got a couple of people at an agency in the northeast who are doing a similar thing to UWE and just like donating office space and a bit of like resources and stuff. And they're looking at, so they've got someone else in the pipeline to recruit into the fintech sector next year, which might be a Metro Bank, but they have another development that I'm not allowed to speak about apparently. So it could be there also, but I think that would be either in Leeds or London, because obviously like at the moment they've got a workshop in obviously Humber, which is sort of northeast, and also in, I can't remember what the jail's called actually, Home House, which is like Tyneside. But then like they've got these job opportunities in London, and it's not really very good for anyone. Obviously, I'm quite fortunate that I haven't got any, didn't have anyone that I needed to stay up for. People have families and stuff, they can't just be like up in routes and moving to London. It's not that easy. And they have 2 new jails coming in women's prisons, which will be the first in Europe teaching women to code in prisons. And I was surprised by this, but apparently there's a few of them in Africa, but not in Europe. And that's in, I think one's in like the Birmingham area and one's in like the northwest. So they'll be opening soon. In regards to sort of, going through Code 4000 and then like not just getting into employment, but the actual learning process as well. There's a lot of barriers, and it does like, obviously a lot of things have gone right in my journey to like sort of like get me there. Like I landed in the only jail in the country. They like opened the work like that was looking at this, and like I was interested in it. And then like guy offers me a job in London, and my missus lives in London, and it was just like so there's a bit of luck involved, but also like I did work my arse off for 2 years. So it does like, you've got to be really self-motivated to get through this stuff, but as well you need the right people around you, and at the time I had the right people around me. I was so lucky that like I got given Andy Mayer's details, and he was just like, yeah, straight away. He'd done some work with a young offender like 5 years before that. He knows Tom, and that's so like, I haven't done a social media post for like 5 years about it, and this guy just remembered it, and I managed to get out of jail and go and work in Sheffield for 10 months because of it. So, I worked really hard, and to be honest, like it's not an easy thing, being, like I was saying earlier, like being in the jail and not having no internet and like no exposure to developer tools. I know they have actually set up like a local, and they've set up GitLab on one of the servers, but at the time when I was there, when I went to UWE, it was like Git was completely new, and like I was saying to Eve earlier, I absolutely hate command line Git. I had some troubles today rebasing some stuff as we do in my head. When I was at UWE, we used the lovely desktop application. Everything was so nice and clickable, and I was just got to type everything. It's driving me nuts. But like learning those kinds of things is really hard in jail, and like the developer tools and stuff like terminology and stuff, which was why like when Ryan was coming to mentoring me, it was really, really useful to have someone to actually just be like, what does that mean? So like, I remember Andy was saying this project that I did after Off Axis, the one where I rebuilt the website from where I was 3 to 5. He was like, oh yeah, you need to, so we need like an API thing so we can get the data from this chatbot into a Rails app so we can like analyze it. So, Ryan, what's an API? I googled it and it didn't make any more sense. But I really needed someone to explain it and draw me a picture, which Ryan is great at, to be fair. But so like these barriers, very real, and stuff like deploying stuff to Heroku and stuff, and setting up like pipelines through stuff like Heroku, and like compiling assets and things like that. Like you're never really gonna be able to get to do that while you're in a prison, unless the prison is very liberal in terms of what they like letting you have internet access and stuff, which realistically when you're in a HMP prison is not going to happen. So it's really valuable to have like people who come in and mentor and at least make you aware of these things, so you're not completely caught by surprise when if you get out and then people are talking about you've got to like commit stuff to Git and stuff, and you're just like you've never really heard of Git. So like when the guys came in from HMPPS and we're doing all this like Scrum and Agile stuff, even though like the workshops were very brief for like what they were trying to give. I mean, it's a whole way of working that you can't really teach in like a day. But to be aware of it and then to like come on the outside and like obviously I've gone into my job now and we're working with user stories and stuff. If it wasn't for those guys, and then obviously I was doing it with Andy as well, but I wouldn't have been aware of that kind of thing. So it's really important, I think, that there is like a level of exposure, even when you're in close conditions to like people on the outside. So like if any of you guys are, working places where your employer would give you like a day every now and then, like maybe, even if it's just like once every few months to, go and do some community work. And obviously it's relevant to your actual jobs, which is even better. I'd say it's a really valuable thing that people will get a lot out of. And that sort of breaking routine and interaction with the real world means a lot to someone who's, spends their evenings locked behind a door on their own, and their daytimes locked in a door with locked in a room with other people. So if anybody is interested in like getting involved with Code 4000, then I guess you can pass you details of me or Rod. That's probably the best person. I'll leave you with some information on that, because it would be great if any, like, even if it's not yourselves, but if you know anybody, you might want to like get in touch. Even like one-to-one mentoring, like Ryan's done. I know there's a new guy who caught with Andy earlier from Umi, and there's a new guy who just started in their office, and it would be great if he can form a good relationship with someone. For some one-to-one mentoring, to me, it's not that easy really for people to just like drop out of work for a day. If even they've even got a Slack channel for support and stuff, which is really useful for people who are like working out in the community on bots, so they can just like ping someone like, I've got this error, what do I do? And because like most of us are on Slack all the time. The other thing, like I'd say, was really, really useful about speaking to Ryan for me was like best practice stuff. So like it's really easy. Well, it's not really easy, but like coding is one thing, but like to a professional standard and like in the best way is a completely different thing. And I don't think anyone in the jail will ever think of refactoring something, or they like trying like not to repeat themselves, and just generally choosing like the most elegant solution rather than just like the first one that comes to mind. I'd say that was probably the most valuable thing that I got from Ryan. As well, the soft skills are quite, there's something that's like soft skills are probably going to be the things that people in jail are probably going to struggle with the most. Like I'm quite fortunate that I had a good education before prison and stuff, and went to university and I've done presentations and stuff like that, which is why I'm comfortable standing up here now. Most people in prison not had those sorts of life experiences, and will struggle just speaking to someone in a professional manner and having the self-confidence to talk about to talk about everyday things as much as like talking about tech and stuff. So having someone within the industry to actually talk to and build that confidence with, like, you know, I can actually talk about this, I can have a proper conversation about this, is really, really useful. Also, with Code 4000, always looking for curriculum volunteers. Actually, which is another great way to get involved if you aren't able to, like I say, like donate time and go into a prison or going into the office. They're always like, even if it's just like a half an hour video one time on like some specific tool or some, you know, little tutorial of you just running through stuff, and they can whack it on there like something that's maybe different, or just, you know, really elegant solution that you found to something you're like, this is sick, everyone should do this like this. Then, you know, stuff like that they can just put on there, or even like you know, firing over good blog posts and stuff to the curriculum manager. It's all useful because they're in the unfortunate position at the moment where they don't actually have a tech person because they can't really afford one. So it's mostly like people. So they've got a guy, Jim, who's the curriculum manager, and he's got a bachelor's in computer science, but he's like worked in education for the last like 10 years. So they are like pretty lacking on like people with actual professional tech experience, which is the end goal really, to, you know, make people ready for professional for careers in tech. So yeah, anything like that is really helpful. And to go like from my experience, I really enjoyed being mentored, like on a one-to-one basis with Ryan. Probably like it helps that we get on an actual personal level. He's a very personable person. I guess that's why he's like all this stuff like mentoring. But no, I think it's definitely a great thing. He always says like he finds it very rewarding when you go and you meet someone and like not that good at stuff, and then you get good at it and you can like see someone grow and it's like help nurture them and stuff, as well as like sort of consolidate your own understanding of stuff and reaffirm stuff. And so it's really good because like he often doesn't really think about stuff and how it works. He just like does it. So it's really useful to actually go back and, you know, explain to someone, oh yeah, this is why this is as it is, sort of thing. Yeah. So. Time-wise, doing alright. So, does anybody have any questions? And like about anything? So, like, I'm fully happy to like tell you all the nitty-gritty details about prison and everything.
Do you think prisons should have access to the internet?
No. No, honestly, no. Not in general, anyway. There's too much risk involved for the jails, really, and they're just not going to take the risk. So, actually, HMP Humber used to be a private, so it used to be two prisons, and then merged into one public prison. So half of it used to be run by Circa, and they used to have I don't know if you've heard of Summit Media, who are a digital marketing company, but they actually started off in prisons. So they had a big contract with Circa, and apparently this guy who started it up even had a key to HMP Humber, and could just like walk in the jail. I don't know what you want a key to a jail for, really. So they used to be based in the exact same space that the Code 4000 workshop is now. They have full internet access and everything. They were doing social media marketing and stuff. But as soon as HMP took over, they just shut it down instantly. Like, they're just not going to take the risk. Whereas you find that your private jails are a lot more liberal in many senses, in terms of like what they let prisoners do, and just treat them a bit nicer in general. But yeah, to be honest, I don't think it's a good idea. I can see what some people would do with it in terms of even simple things like, and this is a thing because, you know, there's no skirting around the issue. People in jail have access to the internet via various means, and there is a thing about Googling what people are in prison for, with a view to bullying and things like that. So I can see from that perspective, it's definitely a bad thing because you see it happen as well. You do see that, you do see where people have found out what people are in for and it causes problems. So from that perspective, I'd say definitely not. Like, and there's always people who can't be trusted. Yeah. Fortunately not. I think they were looking at whitelisting, but there was like so many meetings between Michael, who set up Code 4000 and the Ministry of Justice about this, and it's just basically, I think it's just petered out, and it's basically become a no. Which is a shame, really, because it would be great to do Stack Overflow now, can't you? If you just have that. I mean, sure they can. I looked into this. I'm pretty sure you can download it. I mean, it's going to be a big job. You have to put it all back together. I looked at it. You have to download like all the badges and then all of the comments and then all the posts. But you can do it. But I don't think anyone can be bothered. In all fairness, I looked and I can be bothered.
Get a copy of the Internet Archive. Just roll it into the
Yeah, yeah. It would be great because if you just have like Stack Overflow whitelisted, you'd just be able to get on that. But
So by not having able to Google every problem that you get, do you think it changed your initial reaction to the problem to like try and fix it yourself rather than
well, yeah, you've not really got any choice, but it also means like the victories are so much better. Like I remember getting stuck on some stuff. It's only like front-end JavaScript stuff, but obviously you're like self-taught and you're just like literally like in my cell pseudo-coding and like this could work, and then you go back the next day and it doesn't work, and you spend the whole day like just trying to change that little bit, and then you go back that night and just like pseudo-code it again, and like on like the fourth day you might go in and you're literally like yes. It does make the victories that much better, but yeah, it probably does improve problem solving a bit, to be honest, because you probably actually think a bit more about why it's not working, rather than just like Googling it. Someone else tells you.
it's really easy to just Google it straight away?
Yeah, definitely know which one I prefer though, to be honest. There's definitely one that's much better for productivity.
So some businesses have libraries, or do all businesses have libraries? Do they have coding books?
Yeah, but it's like HTML for dummies and stuff like that. I mean, we did have textbooks and stuff in the workshop, so we had, I can't remember the names of any of them, other than that Smart Way to JavaScript that I mentioned before, which I found really good actually. I worked through literally the whole thing. So we did have some, but it was like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. So we had textbooks on those. I think now that particularly now they've got they've got sort of a partnership with definitely a pipeline with Metro Bank now. So there's definitely going to they need a Java syllabus building. And I think they're probably going to look at me something like that. So I probably need to start learning Java. I'm getting there. But yeah, it's like the curriculum's something that they're putting loads of work into at the moment. You know, they've employed a whole other person just to do that really. But I do think he gets dragged in all sorts of directions, but that's meant to be his job. Yeah, but I think to be honest, I think they could do with like a range of stuff, because I think people have got different interests as well. To be honest, I think they could really do with like removing the whole you've got to learn HTML and CSS before you learn this, because there wasn't really any point in me even skirting on it really. But there wouldn't have been anything else for me to do at that time because it was so basic. But I do think I know there's been a couple of people in there, the guy who's just started working at uni now. He did a year in a computer science degree before he went to jail. And so obviously he's wanting to do back-end dev, and I haven't done a year in university. Should have just been going in and getting straight into something like Java or Python, and you know what I mean, just getting do that one thing.
I guess the problem you've got, as you say, is the different levels of people.
Yeah, and that's the real problem, particularly when, and I know, like I say, encourage people to go in and deliver little workshops and stuff, but that's a big problem when those kinds of things happen. And we had a guy called Nick from HMVPS came in and did a couple of TDD workshops, just doing some JavaScript with Mocha tests, and it was really difficult because me and a couple of other people would just be whizzing through, but then we were quite good at going around the room and making sure everyone else is alright. But it's a bit annoying when you it's just could have done so much today. You know, you could almost do, but it does feel a bit unfair. You could almost do with different sort of things for different people at different levels.
Like a beginner, intermediate.
Yeah, and they did used to do that so we used to get people dialing in on Skype, so a big old screen like this, and so we used to get people dialing in, and they would say if any, and they would just say people who are interested, go and sit on that side of the room and do that. The rest of you just stay at desks and do what you're doing, sort of thing. But you can, going back to the questions about textbooks and libraries, you can ask for libraries to get books as well. So they're normally in touch with the local, so HMV Humber, East Right in Yorkshire, like the Library Trust. And halfway over was like part of the Doncaster Library Trust.
So you can like request books in if you want.
Yeah, and hopefully they get them.
Yeah.
And they're quite good with some of them. There was a book that I never got though in Hatfield for like the year I was there. It wasn't anything productive, like it's a really good fantasy series, and I still haven't read the third book.
I'm gonna ask what's code 4000 and why is it called 4000?
Oh yeah. So 4000 comes from. Oh, can we scroll down? Oh, no, the computer's right here. I'll scroll down. It's not got the map things, has it? No. Boring. So this guy here, Dwayne Jackson, who's one of the non-exec directors, I don't think actually does a lot, but his face is on the website anyway, and he's sort of like a bit of influence in the name. I'll give you, actually, while I'm on the subject, I'll give you a bit of like a overview of like where the whole thing came from as well. But anyway, so Dwayne Jackson was sent to jail a long time ago now, but he got caught smuggling ecstasy tablets into the UK from America. So he went to jail in America for a while, and he got out of jail, and it was a bit of a hobbyist developer, and basically went self-employed as a developer a short period after getting out of jail, and then made his own cloud-based accounting software called Cashflow with a K. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but he sold it for like 20 million. I think it says there. Yeah. And so basically, like 4,000 days after he left jail, he made £20 million from being a developer. So that's where the name comes from, and that's why his face is on the website. So he's like one of the investors, I think. So Michael Taylor is the founder and chairman of the board. So he's basically the one who set the whole thing up. So when the poster went up that I saw, they did like a little open day in the prison chaplaincy, and Michael was there and had a little chat with him. And to be honest, I don't think he really had like any clue like what he had in mind. He just like knew that he wanted to teach like a marginalised group software skills, because he'd done like a lot of like coder dojos and stuff in the past, and was like sort of wanted to get it out to a more diverse group, and he had heard about the Last Mile, which is a similar program in America that's done like really, really well. Like they've got people, I don't know if you like, I think they're called Kings, who make Candy Crush. So there's like one of their graduates is on the board there now, and they've just got like 100 mil from Google or something daft into the scheme, which means like code 4,000 they like get 100 mil from Google. That'd be good. So he's like caught wind of this Last Mile project in San Quentin, and thought, and there was nothing like not anywhere in Europe similar, and it was doing really well. So they set out, so set code 4,000 up, sort of like spoke to the MOJ and started speaking to jails to see if anyone was interested. And luckily Humber were one of the ones that said yes, although the governor who said yes left, and then the new governor, who was there when I was there, I don't think actually wanted it, but had already gone too far behind it. So thank God for that first governor. That's where 4,000 days comes from. Dwayne Jackson, the man himself. Yeah, he's a really nice guy actually. He did come to the jail when we first opened, and it's quite funny because like there's this really like wealthy, successful guy who's coming in, and he's like, and so I remember someone saying to him, so you have this thing in jail, like every week you get a canteen sheet, which is where you order all your food for the week from. So you get it on like a Friday, and you fill out, you like put what quantity of each thing you want, like crisps and tins of tuna, and I still eat loads of tins of tuna. It's really bad. I still live on jail food.
It's London, just saying.
Yeah, it's cheap. So you order all your food off a piece of paper basically, and like get it like 4 days later. So you've got to know what you're going to want in 4 days' time. And then someone was like, "Oh yes, like what were your mates from? Like are you still in touch with anyone from jail?" It's like not that much now, but like when I first got out, and I was like, they were like, some of them are still like in and out of jail. Once I made like a lot of money, and they're all like getting messages off people. Oh, can you send me some money from the canteen? And it's just like it's pretty mad. Like it's like in jail hearing this guy talking about being in jail, but he's like out and made it. So I think it's quite surreal. Yeah.
Are there any running, I know you said there was like private and public prisons. Are there any running in private prisons? Are they all?
No, so yeah, just HMP at the moment, yeah. But to be honest, I think they do really well targeting public prisons. I know there's like a couple of them have really good schemes, like where they have like big, like sort of internal like intervention groups set up by prisoners and stuff in private jails. It seems to be like really progressive in like letting prisoners like better themselves and stuff. I met a couple of guys who've done a very long time. One of them was on like a 25-year sentence, but he set up this thing in HMP, but Oakwood Prison in the West Midlands, like basically where all of the like drug support and like suicide prevention stuff is all run by prisoners, and this scheme was like employing like 100 prisoners in jail who basically were like counsellors and stuff, and it was really cool. Yeah, and do well to get into jails like that, because I think that's where they might get some luck with the internet. It's really good, but that's why I think like if you kind of like get lads coming out into the community and stuff. I feel like that's so vital, because like if I had gone and worked at uni for 10 months, like I would not have been able to go and work and get paid a proper wage, because I just wouldn't really had a clue. Like I'd be able to code, but that'd be it, and that's not what it takes to be a developer. You just be able to write a few lines of code. That's all the tools that go around it, isn't it?
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.